Get ready for the 2024 Tour de France. It has everything and the big GC stars. Feel overwhelmed? Don't worry, we'll break down the top 5 stages you should watch in this year's edition. This year, well, it starts in Italy for the first time in its 100-plus year history, and it doesn't finish in Paris. That's a first as well. Instead, it finishes along the Côte d'Azur in Nice due to the Paris Olympics later on this summer. This year's edition has summit finishes, time trials, 2 of them, and the big 4 GC riders. Jonas Vingegaard, the winner of the last 2 editions, Tadej Pogačar coming hot off the Giro d'Italia, Primož Roglič, and Remco Evenepoel. And you're asking, well, what about those 5 stages? Well, don't worry, I'm gonna break them down for you, which ones you need to be watching, but frankly, you should be watching them all. The first of the 5 for me, well, is stage 4 to Val Loire, 138 kilometers, but it's not that short distance we're worried about. It's those big climbs, and we have, of course, the final climb over the Col du Galibier after 2 massive climbs beforehand. Remember, we're now in France after 3 days in Italy over the Galibier, 2,624 meters. Then that treacherous descent down to Val Loire. Remember, Primož Roglič wrote his name on a stage like this a few years ago. This is going to be one for the riders, even the GC riders, if it's not an escape that wins the day. I think this is the hardest early mountain stage. We're weaving our way up towards the center of France, near Paris, and stage 9, almost 200 kilometers. And what's important about the stage, well, 32.2 of that is on gravel roads. I think around 14 sectors. This is a full-on gravel stage, and if you love Strade Bianche, tune in for this one. This is going to be some great racing. So, starting and finishing in Toise, 6 of those 14 sectors are in the final hour of racing. You're going to be treated to the GC stars going head-to-head over white gravel roads up there in Champagne region. Beautiful sceneries, going through some vineyards. Well, I think a Champagne region. Anyway, we have vineyards, beautiful scenery, beautiful racing. And remember, this is just 2 days after the time trial. Things are going to be hot and heavy right before the first rest day. The third of 5 stages you got to keep locked into, Les Lorient, July 10th. This is the second longest stage at 211 kilometers. Remember, this stage, if you're looking on the map, you'll see we're right in that middle desolate area known as the Massif Central, known for its tough climbs, its technical roads, and its high temperatures at high altitude as well. These roads, they don't roll easily, and we have 4 punchy climbs in the final 45 kilometers. It's great for escapes and also perfect for a GC ambush. We're getting down to the mountains, yes, to the Pyrenees that we all love, to Plateau des Bèyes. 198 kilometers, July 14th, Bastille Day. All the French will be out there on the roads, including the Spaniards making it over from the border. I think this is the toughest summit finish in the second week. 4,850 meters of elevation gain. And then we have that finish there at the top, 15.9 kilometers at 7.9% gradient. The riders will be exhausted by the time they even reach this stage at the end of the second week, and they got massive summit finish in stage for them. For sure, we're gonna see some of the GC riders drop out of competition, and we're gonna start to see that GC, the final GC, start to take shape ahead of the third week. The final 3 stages of the 2024 Tour de France are gonna be explosive. 2 big mountain days, and then the third day, which we're gonna get to in Nice, where the race finishes. The third last day, up to Isola 2000. Yes, as I said, a summit finish in the Alps. Many of the riders that live in Nice will know this well. I'm talking about Matteo Jorgensen, who rides for Visma Lease Bike, who should be working for Jonas Vingegaard in the Tour de France. But never mind that right now. What are we looking at? A short, punchy stage, 145 kilometers, 3 2,000-meter peaks in that short distance of 145 kilometers. We go over the Cima della Bonette, and then, of course, the climb to Isola 2000. And the 2000's in there to remind you, we're up at 2,000 meters of altitude. This one's for pure climbers and could be a potential redemption day for some of those riders that might have been caught out earlier in the Tour de France. Now remember, you need to watch every stage of this year's Tour de France, the 2024 Tour de France. But if you need to tune in to just 5, we've covered 4 of those 5, and we're going to get to the 5th one. And then those final 3 days, bam, 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 summit finish, and then the 5th and final day that I think you really need to tune into, well, that's the TT in Nice. Now, this is the first time since 1989 the Tour de France has finished with a time trial. You'll remember 1989. Laurent Fignon was due to win the race overall, but the big surprise, well, it was an American rider, one you'll know well, Greg LeMond, taking the victory there on the Champs-Élysées, not in a sprint, not in a regular stage, but in a time trial. Now we're treated to another time trial finish in the Tour de France after many years have passed, and hopefully it's another gripping finish to the 2024 edition. 34 kilometers from Monaco to Nice on July 1st to close out the 2024 Tour de France. This is the first time, as I mentioned, since 1989. They're going over some climbs you'll know well from the Paris-Nice stage race, including the Col d'Ez to get to Nice on the Promenade des Anglais, where Paris-Nice finishes every year. Long, challenging time trial, and it should be an exciting finish. The 2024 Tour de France promises a unique and challenging route, making these stages, the 5 days I've outlined here, truly must-watch days in the 2024 Tour de France.